Hello, good evening and welcome everybody to episode, I think it's 33 now. It got a bit confusing because we had one that we had to take down for certain reasons, but I think we're on 33 now. So a very good evening to everyone. Now, our guest tonight is, I've been delighted, I've read his debut book, and I've really been looking forward to chatting to him. Now, his day job is within IT as a network administrator, but a few years ago, he settled in Oxfordshire. He got married and changed his outlook on life a little, which is always good to hear, isn't it? So in 2016, he took up running, which allowed him to run 10Ks, half marathons, and I believe he's done 3 or 4 full marathons, which I'm sure sure we'll hear more about as we go along this evening. He said he's certainly no athlete, but they have brought friendships, confidence, and a degree of determination, but he says he'd been lacking. Now, late on in 2018, he found that he had an idea for a UK-based thriller. So he tentatively wrote about 20 pages. And from there, he figured he could write 50, and the project rolled on until he had over 400 pages and a full draft. Now, he said, whilst the thriller moved slowly forward, he also started posting poems to his Facebook author page, and he built an audience up that way. And to date, he's posted over 150 poems there. And he said it's all part of the onward learning curve as he tries to improve as a writer. Now, a year later, a couple of poems were accepted to be published in a charity book called Dipping Toes in Dipping Toes in Literary Waters, Volume 2. And that helped motivate him, and he's now self-published a poem collection under the title Reflecting on Moments in Time. Now, that's available to buy, and he's now turning his attention to try and publish, well, it says to publish a thriller, but that thriller's out. It came out, I think, a couple of days ago, but we'll hear more about that, and we'll let the author give us a little sort of introduction into the story as well. He's also got a short story being published as part of another charity book, which I'm sure that may have actually already been published. But I am delighted to say that our guest today is Alistair Birch. Good evening, Alistair. How are you today?
I'm very well, sir. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
And thank you for sending me some information over about some of your poems, which I have sort of, before we did the interview, I've asked you, and you're going to read one of them out later. So that's great. But first of all, do you want to tell us a bit more about yourself and about your sort of route into writing, other than what I've just sort of said, and more about the first book?
Absolutely. So I suppose historically, I've not really been a writer until the last few years. Going back academically, English, no, I didn't really have any kind of creative input to get, you get some people that have been writers all their lives. No. I suppose really it's a case of, as I say, it's last few years. Like with the running, it's a case of you start off with basics, you start off with just something like your couch to 5K, and you just think, well, okay, I'll push that along, and you evolve. And I just wanted to do the same thing, and I took an idea. I think the poems you mentioned, I've always had that, I suppose, even though I'm not a storyteller by trade for years. Being silly and coming up with rhymes and that kind of thing, yes, I kind of have always done that to a degree. And it's really therapeutic for me. It's kind of, I just enjoy it. Many a time I've just sort of, in my day job, just gone and had a sandwich, sat in the car at lunchtime, and I've gone, right, here you go, and then posted later on. And there's lots of tricky situations or tricky topics to go and post at, because mental health, all kinds of things like this. And there's lots of silly things. It's great fun. So I've really enjoyed that. And it's something I need to sort of kind of pick up on, because I think if I kind of got my act together, I could create a second collection. So maybe that will happen at some point.
Great.
But the thing with the poems and the thing with the thrillers, a thriller takes a long time to write, especially if you're completely new like I am. your poems, you can just build up. You could, I mean, I was posting a couple of poems each week, so I was kind of quite busy in the start. Whereas a thriller, well, I think my route to this was I wrote half the book. I had quite a good idea, and then I took some advice, and I'll talk about people that helped me. And I really took on board the feedback, and fortunately it was good feedback and it helped me. I used to go and just have a chapter, and in there would be people where it all made sense to me, but a reader would pick up on it and go, hang on a minute, who's talking? Hang on, no. Or she's talking, no, he's talking. And it bounced around all over the place and was really difficult to follow. So that kind of stuff it's just all part of learning and just trying to sort of hone your skill a little bit. So, I don't aim to be the best, but I aim to be better than I was yesterday.
Yeah, well, great thing to have. How did you find the difference? Obviously, with writing the poems, you were getting the virtual instant feedback because you could post it on social media and get, whereas with the book, you're maybe having to write a chapter and then pass it on to somebody to get feedback. How did you find that difference?
Well, to be honest with you, I've only just started doing that sort of approach with a thread. So the third book that I'm working on at the moment, I've posted to a little group chapters all the way through that as I've been going. So every week, here you go, here's 2 chapters, off you go. The first book and the second, no, it was kind of me writing my own story, and it was kind of a different sort of approach. The first one was very much kind of, well, no pressure. I'll just go and put it together until I've got a manuscript. Then I self-published the poems and started submitting. So that ran from about May 2020 to about October. And then I was picked up on a 2-book contract. With the second book, it was a solitary thing that I did. I didn't really talk to people very much. But what I did do was set myself reasonable goals. I'd say, right, okay, I think I had to go and get the second submission in for July this year.
Right.
So the sequel needs to be written by then. So last Christmas, I was on 23,000 words, something like that. So I thought, well, okay, 10,000 words every month, boom. And I got to Easter and I finished it. Wow. Because for me, it's kind of, right, okay, I know I can do 10,000 words a month, that's fine. But if I can do 15 or 20,000 words a month, great, brilliant. This is all part-time. It's kind of in my own hours rather than a day job, but it's, it is kind of, if you've got a target that's not challenging you that much, it's nice to go and blast past it a little bit. And it just kind of, again, I had an idea for the sequel. The sequel does follow on from the first book. It answers a lot of questions. So characters in the first book will, well, some of them, the ones that are still alive, will crop up again,
Yeah. So no Bobby Ewing in the shower then, was it?
No Bobby Ewing in the shower. No, definitely not. No. I don't know how I could squeeze that in.
Yeah, somehow that's maybe in book 3.
Well, possibly, yes.
So for those that that don't know about the book, perhaps you can just give us a little, without giving any sort of spoilers away, but just tell us a little bit about Shadow Pursuit, which is, when did it come out? Was it last week or this week?
So it came out on Monday.
On Monday, yeah.
On Monday. Okay, so I will hold the picture up to the webcam. So this is a rubbish printout, and I apologise for that. But if I bring it closer, you'll see this looks like the London Underground.
Yeah.
Okay, but what you might be able to see, I don't know if you can see it close enough, really.
Yeah, you can, yeah. Bruce Forsyth and yeah, all that.
So on here, this is a piece of artwork. It's called The Great Bear. We had it in a home when I was growing up, so I'm familiar with the artwork. And it's a map, and maps for thrillers and secrets and things like that are quite a good start point. So I looked at this and thought, well, if you can muck around with that a little bit, you could hide something in plain sight. Yeah. And even if you know the artwork, you could easily miss something like this, So that was the start point. Yeah, and I wouldn't say it was necessarily a mistake with things. It was just the way it evolved. But I ended up with 3 disparate groups of people. You've got your bad guys, you've got your security services, and then you've got the innocents caught up in the middle. So once I've had a manuscript, I then had to tinker a little bit to go and kind of make it clearer who the main protagonist was and so forth. I think in the sequel that's a lot clearer, but you have got those different points of view being thrust around, which for me is the way I like to write. I got some advice when I started out, and because I was guilty, I suppose, as a lot of new authors would be, of actually kind of, oh, I like this author, right, I'm going to write like them, and you kind of, well, no, it's the wrong thing. You have to write with your own voice, and now that I've kind of got that, what I try for, I suppose, is something that flows. And that's a legacy of writing rhymes to a degree. It's okay, one's a few verses with some humor and the other is chapters and characters, but it's the same kind of idea going on there. It's having a short journey, and then okay, there's a bit of action, and then there's some tension and questions that aren't answered, so you've got to go and get in there, so somebody's going, oh, okay, right, what's going on now? And so that's what I'm aiming to do, and I actually enjoy writing like that. It's
and do you find that sort of confidence that you've got is helping you to be sort of a bit more fluid with your writing, and you can take things more your own way? Or
I suppose because I come from IT and I've got a logical brain and I like puzzles, and I'm not a plotter by any sense. I'm a real pantser with writing. So for me, I have the start and I have the destination in my head where I'm trying to do these things, and then I let it evolve to a degree. There were salient points that must be in there, but most of it is not defined. This third book I've just quite kind of finished my manuscript on. The idea I started with got binned off, and I went a completely different direction with it, and I'm really happy with what I've written. It's kind of, it wasn't intended, but I'm very pleased with it. And there's definitely a character in there that people will hate, I hope. I'm aiming for that, but
so firstly, for anyone who's like sees your book on the bookshelf and picks it up, how would you describe it genre-wise and sort of story-wise?
Okay, action thriller, definitely. I would say it's I've aimed for pacey, I've aimed for lots going on, and really one of these kind of books where this sounds a bit arrogant, but as far as kind of if you were going to the airport and you saw a W.H. Smith's and you're going to get on a plane and you're thinking, right, something that's going to go and fire the senses, that's my target audience. I'm my target audience.
I think you've cracked it with that as well. It's like
that's very kind of you to say so. I'll look out for it next time I go to the airport.
Look, next time you're in the airport, take a photo.
Absolutely.
And so the book came out on Monday. Is that just an ebook, or is that paperback as well? That was good timing.
Good timing. Yes. So, I got this from Amazon. It's with book wholesalers, so it will take longer to get. But if you go to Waterstones or somewhere, you should be able to order it. I don't know. I'll have to go to Waterstones and order a copy myself, to be honest with you. But yes, it is in paperback, as well as ebook and Kobo and Nook and Google and Apple and all the other different ways you can get all these things.
Wonderful. And you're saying that you've already submitted your second book.
Yes.
So sort of a sequel to that. So when are you expecting that to be released, or is it still?
I don't know. You can go and nudge Dark Age for me if you're on. I don't know. They're a super loss. They really are. But I know they're really busy, and I'm just kind of, well, I'm hoping that now this first book is out, because they've got the submission and they've got the blurb, they'll start to go, right, okay, let's hook onto the interest that's there with a few teasers. But I don't know dates.
No, that's fair enough. That's great. So that's great. So we know a bit about the book, and as I say, we'll get you later to give us one of your poems as well. But what we'll do now is we will start getting your suitcase packed, ready for your trip to Montague Island. Now, people may have noticed we've got a guest with us as well today, Donna, and Donna will get the opportunity to ask any questions at the end. So just to put a bit of pressure on there, Alistair, but there we go. So for anyone that's not seen the show before, one, why not? And two, Montague Island is a fictional island that was created by Mike Craven, M.W. Craven, that was in his book, The Curator. And that's where sort of I had the idea for the show of something like Desert Island Disc, but for books. And then I read The Curator, and that sort of blew my mind, and that's where I come up with the name. So basically what it is, you're going to be stranded on a desert island, well, not a desert island, this on an island off the coast of Cumbria, a desolate island, and you can take 7 books with you, a CD, a DVD, a favourite food, and a luxury item. So we shall see what you're going to put in your sort of suitcase first of all. So what is the first book that you would take with you, and why?
Okay, first book I can actually hold up, and it's a silly one. It really is. So this book is called The Book of Heroic Failures.
Right.
Okay. So
it's very Monty Python-ish.
Well, this is one of the, I suppose, characteristics of being English, I suppose, is cheering on the underdog.
Yeah.
And so this, and in fact, Stephen Pyle did a sequel, the Return. So all of these are all little kind of, tiny stories, and they're funny, and I just love them. And I've had this book. The book is just ancient. It really is, and it's just kind of poor, sad stories. And you read them and you go, oh, that's sad. But the whole thing, it just, it resonates for me, because I've kind of, you've got the weakest beer ever brewed. You've got the sort of lowest attendance in football matches and things. And
you've got to tell us, what's the lowest attendance in football match?
Oh, if I can find that one, I'll find that one. It was 13.
13. Unlucky for some.
I'm going to have to go and look for it now, aren't I?
Oh, it's okay if you can't put your arm. I just thought you were on the page.
Well, while we're chatting, I will look for that and see if I can find it.
See if we can share.
So there we go. So according to this, the smallest soccer crowd. The football match which attracted the fewest supporters was the great game between Leicester City and Stockport County on 7th of May 1921, so it was a long time ago. It pulled a crowd of 13. This glorious indifference was accentuated by the fact that both teams were playing away from home. Stockport's ground had been temporarily closed, and the match was left at Manchester United Stadium.
Wow.
Can you imagine Old Trafford with 13 in the crowd? So those kinds of stories. So definitely, and the thing with this as well is it's variety. We've all got, and we'll come across to talk about something, we've all got books that really resonate and all the rest of it, and are make us laugh, make us stir up emotions and all the rest of it. But this, it's kind of, it just ticks boxes because different subjects and different, and it's life. Yeah. And it's life when people have struggled, and it's absolutely. So whether it's first or seventh, it's going in the case, that one.
Brilliant. That's great. I like that one. And as you say, it's something.
Well, I'm sure you haven't had that one before.
No, definitely not had that one before. But it is something that Brits in general, I think, would enjoy, because we do like. as you say, historic failures, although we like celebrating success, we do also like to see the other side
It's
of the
not,
coin.
it is, but you know, so there's a collection, and yeah, I've probably had that book 30 odd years, something like that. I don't know, maybe a bit longer. So
Brilliant.
yes.
Yeah, that's what one to for people to. I'm sure a lot of people will be going to the pub quizzes and what have you now and saying about, well, you know, what's the lowest attendance at football?
Well, if the details in there are incorrect, don't blame me. It's, you know, blame the author, or you know, but
Yeah,
don't blame me.
that's it.
But yes.
Right, but that's a great one. And as you say, something that you can just pick up, have a quick read of, give yourself a chuckle, and then go on to whatever else you're doing. So that's great. That's book number one. So
Okay.
you know, these don't have to be in any order, so that's fine.
No,
But
no.
what's number two?
The Pillars of the Earth. So Ken Follett.
Yeah.
Which you know, absolutely. It's epic. It really is.
Yeah.
I've read it at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And it takes an awful lot of reading, but the characters and development, and the hatred for the bishop in there is, you know, it's just a lovely, wow book, you know. And I think I've read up until I know Ken's got a new book just come out, so I haven't picked that one up yet, but everything else he's written I've read. But the historical ones, yes. And I've just finished the prequel to Pillars. That's good as well. But yeah, you know, it's, I suppose really it is kind of one of the things with historical stuff is that you get away from all of the stuff that you've got in modern times. You haven't got your mobile phones and your technology and all the rest of it, and you've got some really nasty things that can happen. You know, it's you know, but definitely, yeah, I'll go back to that book and reread it again. I'm sure I will. For me, I'm just in awe, because I think, wow, if I could write like that, I would be amazed. But yeah, so definitely.
And we have had that. I can't remember who it was who chose it, but we have. I know we have had that before, but it's just like a great book, isn't it? It's, you know, it's like a modern classic, isn't it? So it's like, you know, it's really good. So Pillars of the Earth, that's great. And what book number 3 going to be?
Okay, book number 3 is called The Throwback. So that is a Tom Sharp book. So Tom is better known for Blot on the Landscape, Wilts, Porthouse Blues. Those have been televised, those sort of things. Yes, yeah, they're older books, and they are, I don't want to use the word ridiculous because that sounds really insulting. You know, but they're just, I suppose where with the first book, you know, you're reading all these sort of failures and all the rest of it, and you're going, oh, like this, you get this kind of situations, and there's just kind of an evil comedy genius thing going on there, where you're just like, oh no, you can't do this, you know. And The Throwback is the favorite of his. I've read it many times, and you've got this scene where there's a cul-de-sac full of houses, and this guy wants to get rid of all the tenants that are living there. And he comes from Northumberland and is known for hunting and things like that. So he uses these skills to decimate the population, really. And he does some dreadful things. And I don't want to go and spoil what he does, but it's just, you know how sometimes just having a joke without the punchline, but you can visualize it before you get there, and you're just going, oh, you know what I'm saying, you know, it's that sort of thing, and it's just so funny, you know. It's an old book, it's been around a long time, but definitely it's just
one you enjoy. Yeah,
definitely, it's very silly and very funny, but yeah, you know, it's kind of yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, love it. Right, so what we'll do now is we'll have a little break from the books. And I did ask you if you could read your poem, Friendship Bank Account, which I love. So perhaps you can give us a little reading of that.
Absolutely. I must admit, this is one of 2 that were first published, and it's one of my favorites as well. I think this one, The Woods, which I think I sent to you, and Our American Friends, those are probably my 3 favorite poems. But I shall start with this one, because this for me resonates with friendships that I've built up over the last few years. So here we go. The friendship bank account. I was introduced today to a simple way to be. I look after you and you look after me. I am not saying a partnership where we would have to wed. I do not mean silliness ending in the bed. This isn't giving to receive, do not take that track, though if I offer humour, you'll get that cheek right back. It doesn't involve money or paying all your bills. It doesn't mean a big old car or other fancy frills. This can be quite simple. When your life hits a bump, a good friend will be there to lift you from your slump. If you make a deposit with kindness shown one day, a friend will take a withdrawal from you when their need comes your way. Each side they offer, we do not keep account, but as long as it's fairly even, keep this bank account.
Brilliant. Love that. Really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a book, Reflecting on Moments in Time.
Yes.
That's where you can see that and lots of others as well.
Oh, some silly ones and some heartfelt ones in there.
Which is life, isn't it? Really, a bit of silliness and a bit of heartfelt. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Great.
You want to stir emotions.
Yeah, so we'll now go back onto your choice of books. So what's we had Tom Sharp's Throwback at number as the third one. So what are we going to have at number 4?
I'm going to choose this one, but to be honest, I would choose almost any Matthew Riley book. I chose this one partially because it's on the shelf next door, but you know, this is. Anybody who reads Matthew Riley knows he's extremely high octane, really pacey, way more than the level I've written in Shadow Pursuit. In this particular story, it's called Temple. You've got 2 history lines, one from the Conquistadors and one modern times. You've got some nasty creatures living in the temple. It's gory. It's incredibly fast-paced, and it's quite brilliant. And I've read this umpteen times as well, and I'll keep reading it. But I've read everything that he's done, and I will keep reading everything he's done. There's a character, Scarecrow, he uses in some of his, and another character called Jack West Jr. Those are series books, and again, it's kind of, Jack West Jr. is Indiana Jones on steroids. It's absolutely yes, you know, all kinds of mythology and traps and all kinds of things, but it is just breakneck speed all the time.
Brilliant. And it's quite a big book as well, so it'll keep you company on the island.
Definitely. But he's also done things like, he did one called The Tournament, and that was set around Queen Elizabeth, and she went to, trying to think whether it was supposed to have been Constantinople back then, where it's Istanbul nowadays, but and witnessed a chess tournament, which sounds kind of a bit bland and unexciting perhaps, but it's an excellent book, and wow, you know, and just as chess is strategy, yeah, the book is as well, you know. But yes, I'd recommend anything he writes. And you know, when I think I said to Donna the other day when she said alive or dead, if you wanted to meet an author, who would it be? And I gave Ken Follett and Matthew Riley as kind of said joint top space on this one.
Yeah, great. That's and anyone that can you know, write, because there's not a lot of action in a game of chess, so anyone that can write a book about a game of chess takes some doing anyway, doesn't it? You know, really, when
well, and set in Elizabethan times as well, you know. So there we go. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Great. So that's Matthew Riley and Temple at book number 4. So what's your 5th book going to be? You're going in the suitcase.
So number 5, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Definitely had that before.
Yes, I certainly have. I reread it about a month ago. I read it in school, and it's the insights of the children growing up watching all of this unfold. I'll go back to that book again in the future. Yeah. You know, it's and we're all around here understand why, really. You know, there are classics, and they're classic for a reason, and that I think most people would agree with that. You know, it's
Definitely, you can't go wrong with a choice like that, can you really? So it's, you know, and as you say, it's a story that you can read again and again. So definitely come in handy on the island. So what's book number 6 going to be?
So book number 6 is a book called Grey Justice, and I apologise I haven't got a copy here.
No worries.
So there's a guy, Alan McDermott, is the author. Grey Justice is his first book. I've read all of his books. He's actually the author who told me to write in my own voice rather than copying anybody. So I have had conversations with him. I've even been lucky enough to be a character in one of his books. So you know, so we get on all right. Grey Justice, I like the idea with this one. You had a guy, ex-SAS, and his wife gets killed, and the justice system fails him. So with the skills that he's learned, he takes the law into his own hand, and he sets up this kind of, he catches the guy, he sets up a camera, and then he sets up a voting system, and he tells the public everywhere, like, this is what's happened, this is, you know, what the judge handed down, what do you think I should do? And it plays out really, really well. But he's written a lot of books since then. He's done very well through it, and I'll cheer him on every time because I absolutely enjoy all his books, you know.
Yeah.
But that was his first one. So Grey Justice by Alan McDermott.
Super, that's great. So you were saying now, sort of, you know, you've had advice off him that you've followed. Now, as you sort of, you've got one book out in publication, one already done, and you're moving on to your third one. What advice would you sort of give yourself looking back, I don't know, 3-5 years or whatever, and other sort of new writers? Now, as you've had the experience of a couple of books in, what advice would you give others?
Okay. The first thing is to actually do it, which I know sounds dumb and silly, but if you don't get stuff on the page, then you're nowhere. Yeah. So, you know, if you want to write a book. Now, it might be great. Some people have got absolute bags of natural talent, or you could be like me, who is improving, but I wasn't that great when I started. So I suppose once you've got stuff on a page, the next piece of advice is it's kind of find your tribe. So find people you respect, people you value, people you trust. And, you know, that good people will help you. I'll help people, and I'll show interest in nurturing talent and so forth, you know. So it is very much a case of get it on the page, then listen to people and get some advice, and then carry it forward. You know, it's because at the end of the day, we all know that writing a book is half the journey. The second half of the journey is getting it out there. Yeah. And you have to be thick-skinned. I can't remember if I said this to John the other day, but I was chatting with an agent who said before lockdown, they got 75, 80 manuscripts a week. Lockdown happened and they were getting 400 a week.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if that, you know, I'm just, you know, that's just what I was told. So you need to go and get advice with submissions. You need to go and listen to what people are asking for. You know, you've got to work out who your audience is. Now, some people want to write a book and they just want to go, there you go, I've written a book, boom, here it is. And that's very commendable and all the rest of it. But most of us kind of want an audience who wants them to read it, not just to get it out there. Yeah. So, you know, it's all about networking. It's all about getting the stuff down there and just building on it and improving it. You know, so definitely those two things, definitely write, and then definitely build yourself a little tribe and get some buy-in and some input. You know, it's beta readers, it's other authors. And, you know, because there is a really good support network out there, there's free resources, but, you know, if you can build friendships along the way, well, even better.
Yeah, great advice, wonderful. And what would you say, because as you say, you know, you were saying earlier, you're like a pantser, you obviously have your full-time job, so you've got to fit your writing in, but what would you sort of say is the is the best bit of a writing process, you know, through sort of starting off through editing and right through to publication? And what would you say for you in particular is sort of the worst part of the process, or the hardest?
Okay, best part, I suppose, really is this whole sort of puzzle mentality and fixing and solving things. I love that. You know, the whole kind of, right, okay, I've got this situation, I've written a bit of the beginning, and because if you're a pantser and you start writing and then suddenly things veer off in a different direction that you hadn't seen,
Yeah,
you've got to go and be able to go and not necessarily steer it back to where you wanted, not necessarily, because like I say, the third book that I'm just finishing off, that one went a different way completely, and I just went with it, and I was quite happy. But if you've got a start point and end point, and you have to get to that end point, so the sequel, I had my idea and I had the end point already mapped out. So that, yes, I could veer it off a little bit, and I could throw little surprises and different sort of stuff to get people thinking a little bit, and you know, throw some doubts in there. But yeah, you know, I had to go and sort of come up with solving problems. So that for me is the best. The worst. I don't know really. I suppose really for me, it's I'm still new at this, and I don't know what's going to happen now. You know, it's kind of, and that sounds so yeah, we don't like the unknown, and I think if I'd already published 3, 4, 5, 6 books or something like that, then I wouldn't be even thinking these things.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, you know, I don't know where I'll be in 6 months' time. But I'm very lucky I can offset that. This last book I've been writing, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So irrespective of what happens in the first 2 books, I'm enjoying my writing, and I will keip doing it for that reason.
That's half the battle, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I see, I was just looking earlier at the book cover. Did you design the book cover, or did that come from
Dark Edge designed the book cover? Yeah. And yes, that is an iconic place, and it does appear it's relevant. Not sure whether I should say where it is, but you know, I'm sure
no, probably not. Probably not.
But yes, Dark Edge did the editing, Dark Edge did the cover design, Dark Edge doing blog tours and all kinds of bits like that. You know, I just write and submit. And then
leave it to them. But they've done good, because I quite like that cover. It's nice. It's a nice cover.
I completely agree, and I was a little bit worried, thinking, oh, what are they going to do? And it was very much kind of, well, if you don't like it, we might be able to do something about it. But I just took one look and went, yes,
yeah,
got it.
And it's important because a lot of books you read now don't relate. You know, you can look at the cover and like the story's something totally different, but it does relate, so it does tie in.
Yes, no, that helps. Yes.
Yeah, which
I'm not sure what they'll use as the cover on the second one, but never mind.
So we'll now continue with your book selections, and we're on to the last book that you're going to put in your suitcase. So what's book number 7 going to be?
Okay, I owe an awful lot to a lady called Helen Pride. So she's written, I'm thinking 9, I could be wrong then, 9 or 10 books. Now I've picked a short book called Autumn Sky, and I've picked that really because there's a lot of sort of mental health stuff going on at the moment. There's a lot of discussions about abusive relationships and things like that. So that is a key component of Autumn Sky. But you know, she writes historical fiction, she writes thrillers, and she is the person who stopped me head hopping, stopped me from going and having erratic point of views bouncing all over the place. So that in itself is worthy of a mention. So yes, I would definitely say Helen Pye, any of her books. I've picked Autumn Sky purely because of the time of year with all these discussions going on. But definitely, somebody who I would regard as a mentor. So Alan, bless him, has given me little pockets of advice on an email, which I really appreciate. Helen, we've had proper conversations.
She's what a journey with you, so to speak. Yeah,
absolutely.
What was Helen's surname again? I didn't quite catch it.
Pryke, Pryke.
Pryke. Super. So
she's got the historical ones are the things like the Healer's Secret, and there's a whole series of those. So those are more historical ones, more set in Italy where she lives. She's also got a couple of books that are thrillers set down near Portsmouth. But yeah, Chuck, she's a bloodhound author. She's easy enough to find and well worth supporting.
Brilliant, great choice of books. So you got your 7 books that you're going to be taking with you now. Also on our little fiction island, there is a Kindle on there which has got all the Mike Craven, Tilly Poe books on. So that will keep you company as well and introduce you to them if you've not read them before. Now, we believe that on this fictional island that you also get about an hour a day's electricity. So that's all you get, an hour a day. But you're allowed to take a CD with you. So now a CD can be like a CD version of an audiobook, or it can be a music CD. What CD would you choose to take with you? Okay.
Before I answer that, I'm going to do a couple of honourable mentions for people who didn't make the
Of course, yeah.
Just to be a pain. This will perk Donna up. Tony Forder, definitely.
Yeah.
I've only been reading. I've only read the first 6 of his Bliss series, and I've got plenty more on his to be read pile. But brilliant! I just absolutely really enjoy those books. So he's in there. Definitely happy with that. Tom Bale as well. Really enjoy his books. I've probably read about half a dozen of his, so I'll keep doing that. I've got a friend, Lisa Sell, and her book, her first book, Hidden, is set in around Oxfordshire where I live, and that she was from there. So again, she's a friend and she's helped me out, and she's again a good ear for somebody to sort of be there in my corner. And then last one, James Herbert. This is just from going back as a kid. Growing up with that sort of horror genre as a teenager. So those are my honourable mention. Right, so back to music. I was quite tempted to say something like Dark Side of the Moon. Quite tempted.
Can't be that, really, can you? We've had that a few times. And
I'm not surprised. Surprised. The thing is, I'm going to do what a lot of people do and say it's got to be a mix of various things, because yes, I would go Pink Floyd for most of the things, and that's the band I listen to by more than anything. But I will listen to lots of prog rock stuff. I will listen to Queen, Dire Straits, Fleetwood Mac, Genesis, Phil Collins, all those kind of things. Marillion, and there's a long list of people. But then it's a real struggle, because I'll go back and I'll pick Beatles or Elvis or so, and even classical music, so I would just cherry pick kind of a mix of, I don't know, 20 songs or something, or however many I could cram onto a disc. Yes, there would be probably 4 or 5 of those with Pink Floyd ones, but I would, there'd be plenty of others that I would throw in there as well.
Because everybody's got their own sort of memories, haven't they, from a tune? You only need to hear the first few beats of the tune, and it takes you to and so I can understand why you sort of say playlist, because each different person, if you ask them to to pick 20 songs, probably everybody would have different choices, because different things mean and the music tends to sort of bring back the memories as well, doesn't it? That's great, but good choice. A little mix list or playlist for you on your CD. And what about DVD? Now, DVDs you can have, like a film or a TV series on DVD, or there's so many other things you can get on DVD now. Concert footage. What would you choose as a DVD?
DVD. I found this really easy. I don't watch loads of films and things, especially time and time again. I picked Yesterday.
Mm.
It's uplifting. It's comedy.
Yeah,
It's loads of Beatles tracks. So I'm ticking the music box. So I could have songs from there that I don't necessarily have to use up slots on the CD. And so
good plan. Yeah,
you know, it's just a feel good film. You don't take it too seriously. And there are very few films I could just watch over and over and over again. And yeah, I mean, to explain this, it's like I came in a few weeks ago, and my wife Claire was already watching Yesterday, and so I sat down with her and watched the second half of the film. That's fine, I enjoyed it. And then a day or two later, she was out doing something. So I just put it back on and watched the first half back up to where I'd caught. It was just kind of, it didn't matter. It was all wrong way round.
But as you say, great music, and also something that can sort of cheer you up if when you're on the island for a while. Stick that on for an hour, and yeah, great. So wonderful. Yesterday of the movie. Now, what about a food? Obviously, because we're on an imaginary or fictional island, we can sort of make things magically reappear and things like that. So would you choose a particular ingredient, or is there a particular food that or meal that sort of brings back memories for you that you really enjoy, or what would you choose?
I found this quite easy. This is more of a summer thing than a winter thing. So if it was absolutely lashing it down, I probably would be regretting this choice. It's going to sound a bit funny, but a pimped up ploughman's.
A pimped up ploughman. So how would you pimp up your ploughman?
I will explain this. So as a kid, I would my go-to snack would be to take a packet of Jacob's cream crackers, butter them, cover them with piccalilli, pickled beetroot, pickled onions. That was my go-to snack, and I would get a vast tray of these things and just sit there troughing on all the pickles. So I just loved this as a kid. But I love caramelized onion chutney. I love chili jam. I love cheese. I like ham. I like salads. So and bread, butter, all those things. So really, because with this kind of thing, you almost end up with this kind of jigsaw of just different flavors with every bite.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't get tired of that too quickly, because you could have something really plain, just a lump of cheese, or you could zing it up with your salad and your pickles and all the rest of it. So that's kind of, for me, very much kind of going to a smorgasbord salad bar type thing, just loading your plate up.
Yeah, love it. That's great. That's certainly different than we've had. But also, you've got to think, well, this island is off the coast of Cumbria. And
I know,
a minute.
I mean, I did think, well, should I just go for a blooming curry or something? But it's.
But yeah, I like the sound of that. And as you say, again, it's a bit like the puzzle, like you were saying in the book. Even that is a bit of a puzzle of a meal, because you never know what you're going to get next, kind of thing, do you? So with all the different flavors. So that's great. So finally, we've got your luxury item now. This can be as big or as small as you wish, and as outlandish as you wish. So what would you take as your luxury item?
So assuming I'm not allowed some means of communication with the rest of the world, because that would be nice, because I think I would go absolutely nuts if it was just me. Assuming that's not allowed, I don't know, it would be something to help with comfort. It would be something simple like a back scratcher or something, just because it sounds silly and innocuous, but if you've got a back and you can't scratch it and it's right in the middle, then it's going to drive you up the wall. So something as simple as that would be I'd be quite happy with.
You're not the first one that's come with simple things. We've had like pillows and pairs of slippers and all kinds of things. Yes. So because as you say, if you're there on your own and you want your back scratching,
I don't think Donna's going to come along and scratch me back, are you, Donna?
No, definitely she does. No, been nodding her head. But yeah, that's ideal. And as I say, we do get some very strange and wonderful things. So as I was saying earlier, we do have Donna in our audience. watching this. So we're now going to turn the tables and give Donna an opportunity to ask you any questions.
Ah, my nemesis.
Fire away, Donna.
At the beginning, when you were talking about your book, you spoke about the artwork that inspired it. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? Do you know what inspired it and why the artist decided to do an underground map with loads of famous people's names on?
I can, but is it going to give a spoiler? There are.
Don't give a spoiler. Don't.
No, well, the trouble is that I looked at some places in London and I worked out clues around these places. And once I'd worked these places out, I then looked to say, well, what's smack bang in the middle of those places I found? And it just so happened that a very iconic Trafalgar Square landed perfectly in the middle. Well, it landed perfectly on my very rough drawing. So yes, so that for me just went, yes, great, I've got this and oh, hang on, right in the middle, bang. So that is a bit of a spoiler, and I'm sorry about that, but you know, you blame it on her.
Yeah, that's going down as Donna's thing. If you get a 1-star review from saying, well, I already knew what was going to happen, it'll be like, it'll be Donna's fault. Anything else?
It's not even possible. There's too much going on in that book. It's not even possible to.
Yeah, there is. That is not even giving 1% away of the plot of the book, really. So I think you're both quite safe there. Anything else you'd like to ask Donna?
Not ask, but I would just like to say that Alistair was talking about people that help, and I would just like to say thank you to him because he's been helping me with my book, and I'm very grateful. So I would just like it to be known that he's been more helpful than anyone else that I've spoke to so far, and I'm really grateful for it.
That's nice. So it's lovely to see the two-way stuff going on as well. So
absolutely,
helping you, and it like a waterfall comes down to you helping others. Which is...
I always think I've had help, and I will always pay it forward. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. So thank you very much, Donna, for those questions and comments. That's really appreciated. So just in case anyone's coming to the party late, Alistair, so to speak, or watching this when it's up on YouTube and just getting a little bit of an idea about it, perhaps you can just give us a little overview again of Shadow Pursuit and a little bit about where people can find out more about you on social media, etc., and where they can get the book.
Absolutely. Okay, so once again, Shadow Pursuit. Yes, Amazon's the quickest place to get it, but ask your local bookshop if you want. They should be able to order it. So we've got this situation. We've got a lady, Eva. She gets seconded into MI5. She's out of her depth straight away. She's really plunged into the deep end. We've got some bad guys who want to do some really terrible stuff, and they, as bad guys do, pick on innocent pawns to go and get them to do what they need to do. So the whole story takes one of those characters and keeps them front and center, and then you see a little bit of what's going on for them, and then it'll switch to somebody else's story. So sometimes you're reading it and you're very much looking at it from the bad guys' viewpoint. Other times you're looking at it from the security services, and sometimes you're looking at it from the innocents. But there's a lot that goes on, and it builds to something, quite scary. There was a definite reason why we moved the launch from September into October, given something that happened on the 3rd of October.
I can understand that. Yeah, but great. And just how can, if there's sort of readers out there that are interested in it and want to find out more, where can they find you on social media?
Okay, so first off, you could go to alistairbirch.com. That's nice and easy one to remember. Facebook is Alistair Birch Author, or Twitter is Birch Author. So those are my main places that I hang out.
Brilliant. That's wonderful. So that's a great, best way to sort of get hold of you. And obviously we can sign up and follow you and, you know, get updates on
absolutely. And I do run the odd competition. So this third book, I ran a competition, and there's 2 subscribers have ended up in the third book as characters.
Brilliant.
So things like that I'll do every now and again.
Great, so that people know where to get you. Well, as we said, the book's only came out on Monday, so it's only been out 3 days. So we wish you all the best with the book, and lots of sales. And we look forward to hearing more about book 2 and book 3. Well, book 3 is a standalone. Did you say? Yeah.
Book 3 is completely different. Book 3 is more psychological thriller. It's nothing, no relation to the first 2 books. I suppose the first 2 books is because I had a 2-book contract with Dark Age, so that's ticking those boxes. The third book, it's just something that I just kind of sort of decided. I just started that around July, and I'm just kind of finishing it.
Right.
So I'm kind of quite happy. I'm fairly lucky. My poor old wife, bless her, does all kinds of shift work, so it's not unusual for me to be home of an evening and it's like, fine, laptop comes on.
I understand. Yeah, well, that's great. Great that you can get into it, and you know, after you, as I say, you know, doing your day job, and then sort of, you know, you get into the zone and you're firing away again. But thank you very much for attending, and also to Donna for attending as well. And it's been great to find out more about the book and about you and your sort of, you know, your publishing and your writing journey. Now, my computer may go a bit odd, so I will say goodbye now when we cut the tape, just in case I have issues, which I sometimes have in saving the recording, and this will go up on YouTube tomorrow, and I'll obviously copy you in, and you can then share it, and other people that were unable to make tonight can watch it tomorrow. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Okay, bye then.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.